Hello and welcome everybody to Magic in Mind. Today I'm in conversation with the fabulous Meggie Reid. Meggie, you do readings, don't you? Or an embodiment facilitator as well. You do all sorts of witchy stuff, very, very northern tradition in your approach. And I met Meggie. You came and you said, I want to do a Drazzle's Path, didn't you? I want to do a Drazzle's Path, Meggie. And we prepared a special scheme of study for you so that we could work together. You didn't do Awaken with me. It was just, I just knew sometimes, with people, they're just meant to be on Drazzle's Path. We're going to make this work. And I'm really glad that I did, because we're going to talk about them later. But Meggie is one of those people who just has the runes in her bones, is what I would say. Because see, you've got your lovely Largoose top on right now, haven't you?
Yes.
So I'm really happy to be talking to you today. You've just sent me some lovely gifts, which I'm going to be looking at. So we're going to talk about Drazzle's Path. We're going to talk about your work. And we're going to talk about identity as well. One of the things that I find really inspiring about you is that you sort of say it as it is, some people are sort of, and I love it. Your online name is Meg the Wyrdo, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it because it's that owning of weird, the fate and the flow of weird. And you are also just like totally owning that. And I'm also weird, and that's cool. I'm one of the cool kids. Thanks very much.
We are the cool kids.
Yeah, we are the cool kids. And giving people permission, to say being yourself exactly as you are is so, whenever we speak, there's so much joy in you. And I love seeing what you're doing online, and you share, sort of photographs of where you go, and you always look amazing and fabulous in your gear, sort of Viking, it's got Anglo-Saxon-esque, and it's just wonderful. And it has been such a privilege to be part of your journey. So I know that people who are watching my channel are going to feel like, if Meggie can do it, I can do it, be there in my truth, being the fabulous, amazing version of who I am. So I've done a little bit of an introduction to you. Is there anything that you would like to add to people in terms of like who you are, what you do, before we get into talking about Wyrd and the flow of Wyrd and your practice?
Oh, that's a really good question, because you've helped me so much on my journey in so many ways. Having someone like you with this beautiful, very nurturing and feminine energy that just connects, and even in the Hearthspace, we're all just gorgeous, delicious community of just love, just so much love.
Yeah.
And that, like, with the whole embracing, because yes, I do offer readings. I've done a lot of work with you with the kind of Yggdrasil's Path shamanic training as well, so it's all tied in. And Wyrd is so central in ways I didn't realize it was. Like when I was a kid, people would say, "Oh, you're such a weirdo," and I sort of thought it's a bad thing. And then looking back at it and thinking and finding out what the word "weird" means with the Anglo-Saxon stuff, and be like, "Oh wow, I'm a weirdo." Yes, yeah, and we're all weirdos.
Yay! Oh no, it's so true, isn't it? I always say the people who are the really weird people for the people who aren't weird at all. What's going on with them? Come on, Yeah. And it is that journey that people will take at their own pace, won't they? Into sort of saying, actually, there's nothing wrong with who I am. And maybe a term that was used about me when I was younger, when I actually look at what it means, becomes a place of power for me, which is what I feel from you, that it's a place of power, which I really love. And actually, that's a question that I wanted to ask, because you've given a little bit there. You sort of said, I looked it up and that sort of thing, and I was like, oh, that's great. But for people who are sort of feeling like, oh, I'd love to be able to bring more of my like witchy self, more of my spiritual self, more of that part of me that's so important to me that I can feel inside, but I'd like to bring that more fully into who I am. Any top tips in terms of how do you do that? How do you learn to embrace your inner Wyrd?
Well, we all have an inner Wyrd, and it's always different. And I can't remember which saga it was, but there was, you probably know this one. There's someone that's been called a derogatory name, and then they've claimed that as a kenning or an epithet of themselves. I can't remember which saga it is.
I can't either now, and I'm feeling like I've let you down. I can't remember either.
You haven't. I'm sure it will come to me later on. But
it's on a postcard, people, if you're watching, and let us know what it is that we can't remember.
Yes. Please. And I did a lot of work where I kind of sat down and I almost, when you think about that, Odin's a very, very prominent being in my work, and so I kind of, he got me sat down, and almost as if in reciting the names of Odin, sort of looking at myself and seeing the attributes of myself, both the ones I like and both the ones I don't, and almost creating my own kind of list of epithets and kennings that make up the picture of me. And when you see it from the big picture, you see the ones that aren't as pleasant, or the ones you don't feel are as pleasant, but the ones you do, and how every single bit makes up who you are. And just finding something that's unique about you and just being like, yeah, I am the crazy cat lady who's also wears glasses, the poorly visioned one who so many things.
I like that becomes like a big title then, doesn't it? And I love that, and I think that's very true. Actually, it's one of the things I really like is that there are, because we know some of the names that people who might have been termed spirit workers or intermediaries with spirit would have used. We know some of them, so we study this in Yggdrasil's Path. But those names came from somewhere originally, but it wasn't always passed on and passed on and passed on. At some point, someone was creatively inspired to claim a title for themselves or to offer a title to somebody else. And I think that's actually more powerful in many ways. There are some people, and in our groups who have just know that they're supposed to claim the term Seid Kona or Volva or Vitki or whatever it is, and that's part of their sort of ancestral connection. But there's also names that describe what you do or who you are that are part of your uniqueness, that it isn't saying, this is me connecting to an ancestral path, it's saying this is me connecting to my path. And I really like that. So it can be quite a private thing where you look at that and you say, okay, I claim these for myself. And then it might be something that you then go out and you say, okay, where do I, it might be that you use safe spaces like the Hearthspace to sort of say, this is what I'm feeling into and what I'm claiming for myself. Or it might be that, you then go on and say, yeah, I'm claiming this. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Do with this what you will. I am totally comfortable with it.
Yes. I think everything that you say, it's, I was thinking about this the other day about, there's a lot of spiritual people. We all seek we're all seeking, and a lot of people seek enlightenment. And what I'm still such a baby in this world of journeying and transformation. But so far, what I've come across is at the core of everything is authenticity, and just being your authentic self is the most important thing beyond trying to be perfect or trying to achieve something.
I think you're absolutely right. I want to add a caveat to that, because I know that I've talked to people about authenticity and the idea of the authentic self quite a lot, and I think that you are an embodiment of this for me. I don't think that the authentic self is something that you sort of wake up and you're like, now I am in my authentic self, this is me. It's a journey, isn't it? It's an exploration, it's a discovery, and you can evolve over time. And I just wanted to say that, because I know that some people they go, is it my authentic self? Is it? I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like, well, you don't know until you've maybe tried it, like literally sort of tried it on, you know.
100%.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why when I was sort of talking to you about what should I call this episode, I was like, oh, it's like wearing weird well was what I sort of suggested to you, and you're like, oh no, I can feel that. And I think it is there's a sort of act of authentic performance in going, I'm allowing myself to play into and explore into something that feels right here, and then I'm going to step into it and embody it, and then I'm going to go, oh, I feel more whole. This is me being more whole right now. But you sort of have to take that risk that you might also go, no, that doesn't make me feel more whole, thank you.
Well, that's it. And like that word, I love, like, especially when you on your website and everywhere, the sacred play of how play is, you know, have to tick the boxes by doing that. You can have a go, and you might feel like, oh, this is not for me, I'll step back, but you've had a go, you've had a play.
Yes. Yeah. It's that permission piece, isn't it? Which I think we can, well, there's lots of serious issues in life, aren't there, out there? But I think that we sort of take everything very seriously, particularly when it comes to identity.
Yes.
And spirituality as well. It can be like, you know, we've got to be very serious about this. And it was like, why? You know, there are many things that we should be very serious about it. But, you know, I do think that identity and spirituality should be a place where we get to experience, you know, laughter and joy and happiness and ecstasy and things as well. You know, so, you know, which I see so much in you. I wanted to follow up on expression, because you're talking about expression and like authentic expression. So this is a really good time, I think, for me to introduce what Meggie sent to me a couple of weeks ago. So it's here. This is the box I've got, which I love that it's called Meg the Wyrdo's Exploratory Rune Deck is the box. I've got all the cards out at the moment. It's so lovely. And the fact that it's just called the Exploratory Rune Deck and it says a tool for play. There you go, doesn't it? Everything that
you inspired me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved it when you got it. And the thing that I found so amazing is I absolutely love it. It's really fat. So it's a really fat deck here. And one of the reasons why I was always like, because I just clearly wasn't as creative as you, I was like, I can't do a rune deck because there's only 24 runes. It'll be really thin. That, you know, I feel like, yes, Maggie, yes, I felt that too.
I was like, I'm used to shuffling tarot cards.
Yes.
And so I thought, no, I'm going to make sure there's 78 in this deck. I'll make sure.
Yes.
So it feels shuffle.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I have really thick. This is my rune deck, but it's really thick card because otherwise it doesn't work. But yes, you have got your rune deck is genius, and it's really good for people who want to play because it has got. I'm going to show you, mine is all shuffled now. It has got beautiful visuals like this, which are exploratory, aren't they? You know, you've got the rune, and then you've got all sorts of, like you were talking about the kenning hoard, like developing the kenning hoard. You can see that in here with the wolf. You've got the wolf in the forest, and you've got the lovely I always think that looks like Autumnla, doesn't it, there with the sort of light sheen from her, and you've got gold and all of these things that could also be grain possibly, and you've got the serpent, you know, it's all in there, all of these we can read lists of correspondences for the runes, and then we're like, oh, I'm feeling a bit drained right now from having just like read this long list. So you've got that. Then you've got, let me see if I can find another one. Then you've got the actual you've got the rune poems, haven't you? Here, you've got these amazing like info cards. This is Hearthspace. So you've got these lovely info cards. So you could look at it and be like, oh, interesting. You know, what am I going to draw from this one today and from Hearthspace? And you can look at a little question mark because we don't really know what it fully means. I love it so much. And then, and this is where I was like, oh, for the deck, you've got the poems that you've created about each rune, which are genius. Just to be, you know, I was reading them, I was like, how's she done that? How's she done? Not only is it a poem, it brings in so many of the kennings, you know, these sort of creative lived experience meanings for the runes that, you know, there's some of it I was like, hold on a second, she didn't come and awaken, how does she know about this? Because that was something that I channeled. But, you know, I've spoken to other people as well who obviously like rune practitioners, and that sense of creating your sages kenning hoard, where you know the poems, and I know that you look at the source text so much because you put them on your Instagram account. I love going to sort of like inspiration, and you like sort of quote from, you know, like one of the Eddas or like the Icelandic sagas or something. So you do it. So I know that you've got that real sage energy. And I know the poems really well. But then you've done the seer and the mystic. You brought those out, haven't you, and sort of said, I'm going to channel this. And we were talking about this before, and you were saying that it was sort of like a frenzied channeling.
It was frenzied, so frenzied. It was like when you get to that state where if you don't get it out somewhere, it's like you go a bit mad. It's like you have to. It's like, I've got to write this down. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Like I was sucked into this like little bubble of just like for ages, just like doing it. My mum was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, people don't get scared now. Don't get scared. It doesn't happen to everybody, but
No.
yeah, if you sort of really, though, I do believe that there are. You know, I'll talk about this with my own story, that I felt as if when I first saw a rune, I felt as if it was like inside me. And we talk about rune and mal, we talk about like rune speech. I do feel as if when we devote that much energy to the runes, they do start to speak through us, you know. And it is both an amazing experience and also, yeah, you've got to get it out. Once you've started, it's coming out, isn't it?
Yeah. And yeah, it's like, well, like when I started working on this, I had no idea that I was even going to share it with anybody.
You said it was a personal project, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought, okay,
dedication.
I want to develop my connection with the runes, and I read things and stuff. I'm also, because I'm a bit neurospicy, I find it hard to just sit and read a book and be like taking everything. And I was thinking, what can I do? And this little voice popped in my head and was like, why don't you make a little deck for yourself? You don't have to share it with anybody. Just explore, see what you come up with. I had no idea how it was going to be or what was going to happen. And I thought, okay, let's get Faye down and just see what do I associate with that. And then it just sort of built and built and built and built. And then I was just there for ages. And then I got really proud of them, and I showed them to my brother, and he's not really into runes, so he kind of was like, what is this? But
better start.
But then he was like, wow, those are so cool, like you should share them. And I was like, because a lot of my healing work is actually being able to stand in that manas energy and kind of own what I've created. So that's a lot of work with myself that I'm doing. And a massive step is like, you know what? This is a good deck. I like this deck.
Good deck.
Others make it too.
It's a really good deck. In my mastery program, people do personal projects. Not everyone does, but people do personal, and they've done some wonderful things. So I'm just saying here, like she's like raising the bar, people here. But
sorry.
it's fine. It's fine, isn't it? We're all given and off the runes offer to us, don't they? And then if we sort of take up the baton, then it can come through. And you have taken up the baton, and it has been just wonderful to see. And I think a real testimony to what you were talking about that sense of authentic self-expression, you know, that ability to self-express to that level. How did you learn? So I'm going to say, you know, you're relatively young. Just to say, you know, how did you learn to trust your intuition and your visioning? How did that happen? Because some people, that's really hard, really hard.
It's definitely still ongoing a lot, but a lot of this has come from learning hard lessons, from not trusting my intuition. Yeah, so I've had some. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it might be a bit triggering for some people, but I've had some quite not very experiences in which my intuition was kind of telling me beforehand. When looking back, I'm like, I should have listened to that voice. And again, like little things where I've gone, okay, I should have listened, but my other self steps in and said, no, it's, you know, you're just overthinking. You're like, but when, again, even when stepping into like the northern tradition, the more I played with that, it's like things made sense. And it was like, okay, so this isn't me in my head making stuff up and being like, oh,
Yes. Yeah.
There's something to this. And
Yeah.
I listen to this more, and this and this and this and this and that.
Oh, and and I love that. It's sort of like the two parts, and I really get that, and I think that that will resonate with people, even if you absolutely don't need to share the stories for people to be able to say, yeah, I felt that too. I felt a moment where I had a niggle, I had a sense, I didn't follow it, and to then move forward and to say, okay, what I'm going to take from this, one of the things I choose to take from this is to trust that voice more, is an incredibly powerful step to take. I really like to honor that. And then that sense of that we can find that those moments of validation can be really important for us as well, can't they? Where we're like, oh, that came through, and then I saw that, and this, and then I saw that in it, which is why doing something like bringing your pack out and sharing with other people, and then I'm looking at it and going, hold on, has she done my story session on Thursdays? I don't remember doing that. But it's obviously it's because you then go, oh, so someone independent of me has channeled the same thing. And it gives us such validation, which we only find in community. I mean, hard as it can be to sort of take those first steps and say, this happened, or this did this, and sometimes obviously someone else will do that for us and we don't have to say anything. They'll say, oh, this is what I took from this, and you'll be like, yes, I agree. Yes, I take that too. But at some point, it's an amazing thing to then be the one who stands up and says, this was my experience, and to know that there are going to be other people who that's their moment when their heart opens that little bit more and they go, yeah, you had the same experience as me, therefore I'm not mad, or therefore maybe being weird is cool.
Yes, WYD. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that is so important, talking about experiences, because I think particularly in British society there is a lot of shame around, you've expressed this in a wonderful way about how we when we do our symbol right, and how like, oh no, we can't boast, we can't talk about these things, but when we do, it's like, you know what, actually I don't need to have this internal shame. And I feel like the authenticity involves a lot of healing of that internal shame of the self and deconstructing ideas.
Yeah.
Shame, which I don't want to bash other like religions and stuff, but I feel like there's a lot of wounding in our society that can link to that idea of being ashamed of ourselves and trying to perfect ourselves.
I think, you're right. And as you were saying, and I was thinking about the simple right, and thinking again how important setting that up first is, because sometimes a person can take a brave step, can't they? They can say, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to do that boast. And then either somebody else shoots them down, or they immediately shoot themselves down, because like maybe they get silence, they'll say something and they get silence. It's one of the reasons why doing the symbol right in a community who understand how important it is to honor each person when they do that, and to celebrate that, is so important, because it's part of our healing, to be received, as we are. So I'm really glad that you brought that in. And perhaps that's a good point for me to ask you about what we talked at the beginning, didn't we? I said, this is the UK, and you said I want to do a Dressel's Path, which is one of my it's one of my more advanced programs. It's actually the first program that I created. I created it before Awaken, and I ran it in person with small groups for a period of time. And then I was playing, and I was sort of saying to Odin, I know you want me to do it again, but I do the majority of my work online now, because so many people are in America or Australia. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. Let's see how this works. And to bond with the group, because it's a very small group, programs, between like 4 and 8 people normally each year come on it, is a really powerful thing. And to get to the point where eventually you lead a ceremony or a journey of some description. You led us on an amazing journey on, I love it. I loved doing that with you. And to be confident enough to do that and to take a group through that is is something that I get so excited about, that I'm going to be supporting people and doing that. So tell me a little bit about, first of all, why were you like, I must do this?
I feel like when I came across it, it was like a feeling in here, like butterflies just filled up, and this real joy, like this childlike joy that I hadn't felt in a very long time. As actually, it was like, okay, this is really, really like advanced stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I feel really like I need to do this at some point. I don't know when, but at some point. I thought, and I joined your Hearthspace already because,
yes,
and you've shared amazing, beautiful insight all the time, and I felt such a strong connection with you as well. It was just beautiful, and it was like, you're the one, Maggie's the one,
I'm the one,
you're the one. And something came to me, was like, okay, just message her and just see, what could, at some point, maybe along down the line, maybe doing Brazil's path, or maybe exploring a bit. And then you replied, like, let's have a chat. And I thought, okay. I was really nervous before that chat as well, because I was thinking, oh gosh, what do I need to do? But it was, the support you gave me before was really helpful and nurturing, and those steps that were needed to really have that foundation. Because I really do think the foundation of, especially with like Awaken and everything, is so having that base knowledge of runes really helps with the world tree and connecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was just like, we connected on like like a level. It was just like, okay.
I know. And when you you're doing journeys together, even though we're all dotted around in different parts of the world, but then doing those together and experiencing the very deep, profound work together can be a huge thing. So what if you wanted to sort of share with somebody else so that they could understand, because it's not known like, in the same way as like core shamanism might be known, or one of the things that we probably won't sort of debate it now, but just sort of say, obviously even the term shamanic practice isn't, where it's not a northern tradition term. We might talk about seidh work, which is not quite what a Drazel's path is, but it's it is journeying upon the world tree, becoming a wayfarer, as I like to call it, on the world tree. And I think people who come on that are just go, yeah, I'm supposed to go on a journey of discovery. I'm supposed to see these worlds for myself and receive some form of healing, or be somebody who is supposed to be recovering wisdom and bringing it out into the world. That's sort of what I designed it for. So what did the journey give you?
It was so transformative, because I feel like all of us that were on the program were connected in there for a reason. Like, we had to be together at this time, and like the insights, there were some really beautiful journeys. Obviously, I won't share too much because you don't want to spoil it. But there was one where we go to the library and discovering that, and having just doors opening up to parts of the world tree that aren't necessarily parts that most people would think of to go to. But having sisters at your side as well. Like, I remember times seeing like the fate, like everyone's faces at some point as well, and being like, oh, you're here, wow. It was, and I feel like it unlocked a new level of healing for me. And I'm still feeling it now, and even like it's kicked off bonds with everybody, because I wasn't like Facebook friends with everyone that was on the course, but now I am, and I see everyone's posts every day, and I feel like there's so many parallels with what we're experiencing all together as the community. And I feel the effect, like the impact of Yggdrasil's path, like now as I'm moving through and just thinking, oh, I remember seeing that in that journey that time with Maggie.
Yes, that can so often happen, can't it? You're like, oh, now
Yeah.
now I get that bit. What that meant. Oh, it's so true. And I'm really glad that you mentioned the healing journey, because I think that's really important as well. Because certainly when I trained in, with my teacher in shamanic practice, a lot was about technique. It was about, we'll do this, and we'll learn how to do cord cutting, and we'll learn how to do extraction, and I sort of learned past life regression and those sorts of things, which are wonderful and beautiful. We are almost, we're at in the age of discovery at the moment with what the world tree has to provide to us, because there's so little that has filtered down to us, and even that has been filtered through like Christian perspectives, and very, very much so. And there is more that's been lost than that we from what we are able to recover. And so every time I do a Yggdrasil's path, we go to different places. Each group is unique in that sense. So we will go to some core places, and there will be some places that open up and guides that come specifically for the group. And I will learn new healing techniques during that time. And I was working with the graduate group. We were doing ceremony and going to Helheim, but we were going to a particular place outside of Helheim, which isn't in the literature. But it was just like, it was an incredibly powerful healing process. And I do think that this act of, if you feel called to say, I want to work shamanically, let's say, and I want to do it within the Northern European context, then recognizing that you are engaged in a personal healing journey, but also a collective healing journey, is so important. And I think that's for me why one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview with you, is because I can feel that you are somebody who is like, yes, I am still on a healing journey. We're all of us on healing journeys, and we go through cycles of evolution and things. But then you want to bring that treasure out into the world as well. I think that's so important. It's I love your deck, and all of the things that you're doing and everything that you share as well, is making that available to other people too, isn't it? Sort of say there's literally 9, well, we say 9 worlds, but if you think about it, we know very little about each of those 9 worlds. I mean, each is massive in their own right, enormous, and full of possibilities for wisdom gathering and healing, as you have done. So if I'm going to ask this in 2 questions then, let's say. So if you were speaking to somebody who wanted to follow the Northern European path, was a bit like, am I ready? What do I do? How will I know when I'm ready? What would you say to them?
I think the first thing is to release expectations of what it should look like. I think then we've spoken about this before, and even on some of the healing with the rune sessions that you've done, sometimes the Northern tradition can kind of have a reputation of being quite harsh and quite like, I'm a Viking, rah! And a lot of people can kind of feel a bit like, oh, by that. And like especially the way you connect with it and present with it, there's a very nurturing energy, and it's you, like you've got your own energy that's connected with it. And I think when it comes to our own journeys, we all have our own experiences that lead us up to a point, and it doesn't mean there are some people especially in the Northern tradition world, that are very hot, that this is the way it should be, and you can't do it any other way. And if you do it any other way, then you're not really doing the Northern European tradition, and somehow you are wrong. And I feel like a lot of people can kind of feel a bit put off by that and be like, oh no, like, I think for me, it really stems back to just pure, just authenticity again.
Yeah.
Like I do a lot of dancing with my, when I do connect with my body, and belly dancing is something I've got a background in, and I use that, even though it's not from the Northern European tradition, but it's something that I connect with personally. And a lot, like someone today like messaged me like, oh, how do I go about working with Odin? I don't know how. Like, I say like a lot. I've noticed I've saying like a lot. It's very with, I find specifically with the Northern European tradition deities, I might not be the same as you. They care about you being authentic. If an offering comes from the heart and is genuine, comes from a genuine place of respect and love, and that just that wanting to connect and learn. Same with the ancestors, same with, you know, all the just nature as well. If you come from a genuine place of, I want to be respectful and I want to connect and I want to discover, then your path will just be how it should be.
Yeah.
And you'll discover.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And you make a really good point, actually, for people who are, you know, thinking, oh, I'm nervous. And then that you might meet, you know, a teacher or somebody who's like, this is the way that it needs to be done, and you're going to be with me and you're going to learn how to do that. And it can generate that fear of, I can get it wrong. I can get it wrong. Oh, which, if someone gives you that sense that that you feel smaller, you know, and judged, I suppose, then that's one of the things about stepping into authenticity, and it's going, for some people that might be absolutely fine. You know, that's what I want. I want a structure. I'm going to follow the structure, and no problem. But if you're somebody for whom authenticity and a personal path is important, no one else can walk that for you or walk it ahead of you, can they? They can only say, this is what it was like for me to walk my path, and you might see this and you might experience that, and if I was you, I would avoid that bit. You know, but you learn the lay of your own landscape, don't you, through walking with somebody else for a period of time, until you go, you know, I've got this now. I'll work out if I'm going to fall into a bog or whatever. I know what those warning signals are. Because I think that instinct to find somebody else to work with or teach you is a good one.
Yeah.
It's just choosing the right people, isn't it? Yeah. And that resonate with you. That's so important. Which is why, you know, when you came and you said, you know, an incredibly like brave thing to do, isn't it? To sort of go up to somebody and say, I want to do this thing. And I really, you know, I'm not ready. To do that in itself is a great thing. So I would say to anybody who's feeling like, you know, I feel as if I'm called to do this, find your brave, because the only thing that might happen is that the person will say, this is what you need. Well, if they're good at what they do, they'll say, this is what you need to do to get ready for that. You know, they won't say, no, you're not even not down, you're not coming in. You know, you're never going to be good enough as a person, you know, which is, I think, what we all fear, don't we? We fear that somebody will say, you don't have it in you. You're not special enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And yeah, no, we don't have that here. But to get over that fear, which is instilled in so many ways, and we could do a whole extra conversation on things like the wound and, you know, all of that stuff, and ancestral trauma and all of those things that, you know, sort of stop us from taking those leaps. But to just say to somebody, I'm really feeling called to do this, can you help me?
Yeah,
is the first step, isn't it? You know, really. So I'm so glad that you did. I'm so glad that you found the Hearthspace. And I've, you know, for people who are confused, we've got the Hearthspace community, and then we had a membership which I used to run, which is evolved sort of to become Sooner Starwell a little bit. It's not quite the same. We did a lot more in-person stuff back then, and that you came and you said, yeah, I want to do a Drezel's Path, Maggie, and I was like, Maggie needs to do a Drezel's Path. Odin was, he needs to do it.
Okay.
We'll work out how it needs to happen, and that's what we did. And that's absolutely what we did. And it was wonderful. It was fabulous to facilitate the journey. I cannot tell you, honestly, I had a little cry when Maggie's parcel came through with her cards and things like that. I was like, this is my dream. This is my dream in fruition right here. You know, to be part of somebody else's journey, to them expressing their relationship with the Northern tradition and sharing that out in the world is what I want from my work. So thanks, Meggie. Cheers for that.
Thank you.
Win for me. Wunyo! Yeah, you see, she's well trained. She's well trained. Here you go. I'm going to get my drinking on now. Wunyo to Meggie.
Okay, fine. Woo!
Oh, thank you so much for coming and guesting with me and talking to me and being so generous with your time. We're going to have in the links along with this interview how you can get in touch with Meggie and find out more about her work. Please do post, share what your thoughts are from what we've discussed, what resonated with you. And if you liked this interview, please do comment, please do like it, please do share it. All of the above are helpful to us. So thank you so much, Meggie, for your time. And thank you to you for traveling with us through this interview, which we hope you have enjoyed as much as we have. It has been fabulous.
It has.